We now know that an average human being thinks more or less 6,000 words in a day. Most of these thoughts are fleeting, directionless, and at the end of the day, we can't even remember them. Now, it is important for us to become more conscious of our thoughts and to use our thoughts to get the ideal outcomes in all 8 pillars of life. So there are 3 levels to thinking beyond the fleeting, directionless thoughts that we think in a day, that at the end of the day we are not consciously aware of, that we cannot remember or recollect. At the first level, we have to consciously become more thinking about our experiences, meaning we have to deliberately think about our experiences as we go through a day, interacting with the world around us. We must think about the things that we experience through our 5 sensory modalities. So we must think about the things that we see, we hear, we feel by touch, we smell, and we taste. Those are the 5 sensory modalities, and we have to think about this. That's the first step in thinking. And how do we start thinking about these experiences that we have using our 5 sensory modalities? How do we think about them? We think about them by assigning words, phrases, and sentences to these thoughts. Yes, so thoughts are essentially language and communication. So at the very first level, you are engaging in first-person self-talk. In other words, you're using language to communicate about your experiences that you glean through your 5 sensory modalities, using words and phrases and sentences to yourself. You're communicating with yourself, to yourself. Okay, so we call this the first-person self-talk. This is how you start thinking, and if you're a parent or a teacher, this is how you get your young charges to start thinking. Yeah, think about the experiences that we engage with and the stimuli that we take in through our environment. It could be buildings, architectures, nature, the sky, trees, plants, flowers, birds, bees, insects, yeah, everything. Start assigning a voice using words, phrases, sentences in a language that comes naturally to you in a given context, or a number of languages depending on the kind of person you are. For example, I'm multilingual, so in different contexts my default thinking language is a different language. Okay, so it depends on the person you are. If you think all the time in a particular language, or if you think predominantly in a particular language, use that language to think. So think is very to think. Okay, so thinking is very closely related to language, words, phrases, sentences, and communication skills. So these are the important tools that you need to have in order to start thinking. Okay, now from the first level of thinking, which is the first person self-talk, it is important to move towards the second person self-talk. Even if you don't deliberately do this, you will find this happening once you've started with the first person self-talk. You will find that inadvertently you are moving towards second person self-talk. The first person self-talk is mostly about the environment, your interaction, your experience with your external environment. Now, the second person self-talk usually happens when you start thinking about, or when you start becoming aware about what's happening internally to you. So usually the second person self-talk is about your own words, actions, emotions, or even the physical feeling like pain or discomfort or pleasure. You will have this thinking happening in the second person's voice, or we call this the second person self-talk. Now, why this is important is because when you start thinking along the lines of second person self-talk, this is when you can start regulating your choice of words and actions and also your emotions. Now, at this stage, you're still responding, meaning you start thinking about your actions, your words, and your emotions in a responding manner. Okay, this means that the thought follows the action, the words, or the emotions. But this is important. And somewhere along the line, as you keep doing this, for example, if you speak a harsh word to someone else, then you catch yourself feeling not so good about it, not so proud of yourself, then you cannot undo what you've done. You cannot unspeak the words that you've spoken. But what can happen is at this moment, you can lay the foundation to filter, stop yourself smack in the middle of your action or your words, right? Before you utter those words or before you land that blow in someone's face. We all know a very talked about incident, right? Yeah, I'm talking about Will Smith and Chris Rock. Yeah. So before you land that blow in someone's face in the heat of the moment, when you think about your emotions, your actions, and your words, you can lay the foundation for a future choice. So you stop yourself before the words are spoken, you stop yourself before the actions are taken, and you stop yourself before a certain feeling is felt, before a certain emotion is chosen. So now when you start becoming aware of your words, actions, emotions, at this stage, usually you're engaging in second person self-talk. But in order to regulate this, you will find yourself already engaging with a third person self-talk, meaning that is you, talking or thinking about your actions, okay? And then there's another voice, a second person self-talk, talking to you about your choices in words, actions, and emotions. And then the third person voice, which is actually your thought, emerges in a manner that it regulates your thinking. Because all your words, all your actions, all your emotions, at the back of it, there is a thinking faculty as a result of which these emotions, these words, and these actions are synthesized. So the third person voice is almost an external voice talking to the second person voice about the first person who is the actor in all of this. So regulating starts happening. So what is this third person voice, or what happens when this third person voice emerges? When this third person voice emerges, you're actually thinking about your thinking. You are beginning, number one, to think strategically. It is this third person voice that you can use as a tool to think strategically, to set goals, to think critically and clearly. And you can use this third person voice, if you train yourself well enough, to identify thinking fallacies, flawed thinking, to identify the wrong values that you're adhering to identify limiting beliefs, and sort yourself out in a manner that you can surge ahead in the direction of your goal. Okay, so when you can go through each level of thinking, from thinking in a directionless manner to thinking in the first person voice, or activating your first person self-talk, and then your second person self-talk, and then your third person self-talk, this is when you can really surge ahead in the direction of your dreams, because you will be regulating yourself, your entire psyche, taking it apart, rebuilding it, removing the unwanted, and putting into place structures that are needed, and you are on to great accomplishments. And this is what I call excellence mindset. There is one more phenomena at the very peak in excellence mindset, and I will reveal it to you somewhere along the line. But all of these levels of thinking that I've talked about in today's video is at the root of what you have or what you do not have in your life, pertaining to the 8 pillars of your life. And if you want to have great things in all the 8 pillars, across all the 8 pillars, you have to sort out your thinking, and this starts by deliberate choices. So make that choice today and start working on yourself. And I always ask you to start working on your physical health and fitness. That transformation for me, when I went from being an obese and fat person to a fit and healthy person, was even able to walk out of a very life-threatening ailment, gave me the confidence that I could go ahead and re-engineer my life in all the other 7 pillars as well. So start with health and fitness. If you like this video and you like the content that I'm presenting, I have more coming your way. There will be a video each week. And yeah, let me leave you with this one thought. Yeah, you are the sum of your thoughts. Change your thoughts and you change your life. See you again soon.